Okay, we are live now. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. For anyone listening, I'm just going to post a link to TCT, and we'll be in as the Parramatta Eels cross for their second try of the game. Let me just grab a quick link to the stream for those that are going to be listening on TCT. Okay, YouTube. My sincere apologies to anyone that has been waiting for this live stream. We ran into some very serious technical issues in terms of getting our connectivity up. So I'm just going to do this. That. In terms of getting... We are live. Yeah, you can start speaking, mate.
Well, again, Forty's just apologised for some of the delays that we've had. Our thanks to Adam and Scott over at Wenny Leagues who've helped out a technical difficulty that we've had with our Wi-Fi connection. Those people are champions.
Absolute legends.
So, great access and assistance from Wenny Leagues Club. And just as we've come on live, the Eels have have taken a lead now. They've gone from 4-all. The score is now 8 points to 4 after a try by Oliver Clements hitting the right side edge. And we have Kyle Schneider now lining up the conversion.
Yeah, so to clarify, Parramatta Eels did score first in this game via Matthew Komalafi, who's come back into the lineup this week. There was a lot of changes.
And from close range, he's pushed it to the side of the post.
He's done a Cameron Munster right there.
This could be one of these days for the goal kickers because that's 3 unsuccessful conversions for the 3 tries that have been scored. One difficult conversion, the first one for Schneider, were well within kicking range for both kickers, so they would have been disappointed with the miss there. And we've got the Roosters just about to kick off.
So just to clarify now, Parramatta Eels try scorers Matthew Komalafi and Oliver Clements. Just then, Kyle Schneider 0 from 2 from the kicking tee for the Roosters. Vayala Tamati did score in the 12th minute. There is currently 14 and a half minutes left in the first half as we get into this broadcast. Eels working their way up through the kickoff set now, coming up the guts via now to Jaden Yates, I believe that might be. Working right now as Atasi James tears into line. Nice step and footwork, great offload there as he links up with Clayton Falalo, breaks a tackle, falls to the ground but gets back up. No, referee has ruled tackle completed right there.
That Clayton, was quite the charge from Tazi James there, mate.
Yeah, he's a big unit with some nice footwork. Eels stab a kick through Kyle Schneider down the left edge. That's a very tidy kick, and it's going to be marked about 3 metres short of the play the ball, if I'm not mistaken, on the 10-metre mark.
Mate, just as we spoke about last night, once you get that completion of a set following the kick-off from the points restart, get to your kick, turn the ball over inside the opposition's quarter. That's what the coaches are hoping for. It's exactly what the Eels delivered just then.
Exactly, mate. Just quality after points, and in the Jersey Fleggg it goes a long way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and again, it's Rugby League 101, so if you've got this happening right through the grades, which we did last night, and now, this is the reason why you want to be turning the ball over deep into the opposition half. We've just seen the Roosters drop the ball about 26 metres out from their own line. I think the referee's going to round it up to the 30-metre mark.
A very generous rounding there for the visitors.
We've advanced the mark about 5 metres there, not to worry. That's where the scrum's going to be set. So the Eels are fielding at centre field. We're at this, I think it's the Smith Street end, isn't it? Not the Great Western Highway end. There's no stopping him. He scored about 2 or 3 metres to the left of the posts. So you'd like to think this is going to be an easy conversion for Kyle Schneider. The score at the moment is the Eels 12, the Roosters 4. We're expecting that to extend out to 14 points to 4. There's just on 11 minutes of the first half remaining.
That's it, mate. Now, we just had some more connectivity issues, so apologies if the stream's dropped out. Waiting to see if we're back in. I believe we are, so we'll go with that. Do apologise to everyone listening. It's been a little bit of a train wreck here as we've been scrambling to get a working connection. But those are the breaks. This is very much a fledgling process for us, so we're trying to work through it. Kyle Schneider working into his kick routine now. He settled himself, looking to approach the ball shortly. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Direct approach on the ball as he drills it, and this time from next to the post, he does raise the flags.
Okay, so if my last commentary was missed by any streaming problems, what you missed was absolute gold from me.
The greatest call of all time.
If it came through and you don't agree, I'm just joking.
So yeah, Parramatta Eels up 14-4. 10 minutes left in the first half. If I can read the clock, 20 minutes left in the first half. Parramatta playing some good football here.
Yeah, and you'd have to say that's a continuation from what we witnessed a fortnight ago here at this very ground, mate.
Yes, correct, mate, where they put the South Sydney Rabbitohs to the sword that particular game. Now the outside backs get in work early in this set. That looks like Matthew Komalafi getting taken by about 3 defenders on the 20-metre line.
That was an interesting play, the ball, I must say.
It was a little bit sloppy there.
It looked like he was actually still held up in the air by the defenders and managed to get an extender arm down on the ground to place the ball and then play the ball. They were still wrapping him up.
Looks like carries from Peter Tateo and Jaden Yates there. It's Parramatta Eels working towards their kick. They'll kick it from just behind halfway here. Kyle Schneider, the man, as he gets away. Not a perfectly clean kick, but it does get a little bit of distance. The Roosters trap on the foot down the range and make a big line break as number 22, Vasuti Karolua, makes a great break, beating a number of defenders before heading back infield. Huge run against the play there for the Roosters, setting them up for a prime attacking set this half. They're playing from right to left now as their prop forward number 10, Luca Moretti, help shift the ball with numbers to their left. They're going to spin it out wide and touchdown. Are they going to touchdown? Yes, I believe they do, yeah. So good hands from the Roosters, working it from that line break on the fast play the ball, right to left, catching Eels short on the other side of the field. Starting with their prop forward, Luca Moretti, showing a good set of hands to help distribute the ball. And it's their left winger, which would be Michael Lyons, I believe, that finishes that movement to score.
Mate, that's what you call using the full width of the field there from the Roosters.
Yeah, expansive play.
They broke away down their right side, a powerful run by their winger. Speed, evasiveness, power, broke through to about the Eels' 40-metre line. The ball was then spread wide across the field, caught Parramatta short over on Parramatta's right side, Roosters' left side. It was a valiant attempt for the cover tackle in the corner, but they've managed to get across and narrow the margin down to 14 points to 8. It is going to be a challenging kick. Their kicker earlier missed one from relatively close range, so we'll see what transpires here.
So just to jump in here, apologies that we're going to butcher some names here. There's been a ton of changes late in the process here. I'll quickly run you through the team sheets that we have. For the Sydney Roosters, it's Corey Fanning at fullback, Michael Lyons and Vawati Levu, on the other wing. Jack Mossman and Jordan Swan in the centres. Jack Stringer and Max Batty are the halves. Luca Moretti, Lachlan Poco, the two front rowers on either side of Kobe Ruggless at dummy half. Jacob Preston, Rawi Main and Vayala Tamadi are the back rowers. On the bench they have Hugo Patterson, Michael Coleman, Bray Verheyen and Josh Bevan. For the Parramatta Eels, a number of changes there for them too. Clayton Farlolo is still the fullback, but Matthew Komalafi, the try scorer, is on one wing, with Samuel Loizu making his return from injury on the other wing. Jabril Kalachi and Charbel Tassapali are the centres. Charbel dropping back from light work in the New South Wales Cup last night to get some more game time. Tavita Massimo and Kyle Schneider are the halves. In the front row, you've got Big David Hollis and Jack Colovardi, with Jaden Yates moving from lock forward to dummy half. In the back row, you've got Ollie Clements, Peter Tateo and Atasi James. Caleb Towie, Jonte Jr., Bethan Meesa, Lennox Whitaker and Luke Bain are on the bench. As the Roosters now prepare to take their shot at goal following their try. Here we go. Just 1 second, working his way in towards the ball. Decent strike, and off the post and in. So that narrows the gap to 4 points as the Eels hold that 14-10 lead. There is just on 6 minutes left in the first half.
It's an 8-point try here, mate. He's now come. There must have been something that occurred.
So obviously, in the act of scoring the try, there's been some form of foul play. Potential 8-point try is going to be an actual 8-point try after hitting that sideline conversion. So that's going to narrow the margin to 2 points. Don't see.
I didn't see what happened.
There was no blow up between the two teams, so evidently it wasn't particularly vicious, but enough to warrant the shot at a goal from the sideline and in front. So, second attempt at goal forthcoming. Steps into it, strokes it cleanly, and indeed he adds the extra 2 points from in front. Potential 8-point try is a full 8-point try, and the Sydney Roosters now trailing just by 2 with 5 minutes left in the first half.
And, of course, followers of our pre-season training blogs would recognise some of the names in the Eels lineup today. Matthew Kamalafi, Charbel Tassapali, Samuel Loizu, Kyle Schneider, who was part of the Eels full-time squad last year, Dave Hollis. And we've now got the kickoff, gone deep into the, well, actually not too deep into the Roosters
mid-range
quarter,
kickoff.
but the first tackle's just over the quarter line.
Komalafi and Tassapali involved in that tackle alongside Peter Tateo. Oh, strong contact there, Tarsi James.
How'd you like to be here with that, mate?
He is shot off the line like a rocket and made heavy contact. Play stops for a moment as the ball is being
Mate, he's 6 centimetres off the mark.
that,
back.
That was a very pedant or pedantic call up there. I was not unhappy if that played the ball from the Roosters, to be very honest. The Tricolours working the ball centre field now as they go left and continue to work left as their dummy half plays it out to their 5/8. Nice little half break there, but the Eels quickly wrap up the ball without too much damage being done. Right edge defenders for the Eels there being, I believe, Charbel Tassapali on that. No, sorry, Tassapali is on this side. Yes. So that would have been Jabril Kalachi. My apologies. Good driving tackle there to bring up the last as the Roosters will kick from about 5 metres short, halfway. No, they shape the kick, but throw the dummy. And then the ball passes batted back by the Eels, picked up off a tip from the Roosters, and the Eels regain possession on their 40-metre mark. Bit of a ball dodge there, but good scrambling defence helped force the turnover there, Craig.
That looked like some sort of party game or volleyball, mate.
Everyone up there spiking the ball.
Yes, first you must jump, then you must spike the ball.
Once again, the outside backs coming in early to help share the workload. Komalafi taking the ball over halfway for the Parramatta Eels. Shaped up to work to their left here. First receiver, you have Jaden Yates, I believe? No. Very hard to tell from our angle here. But Eels continue to work left as Tarsi James getting through a mountain of work. Great offload there as he spins and makes contact and gets the ball away. Finding Jaden Yates in support, who drives through for strong metres after contact. Eels will be playing the ball inside the Roosters' red zone now. Going to play to their left as Kyle Schneider takes on the line. Out the back, no. Short ball to Charbel Tassapali. Schneider is levelled in the process, but Tassapali pinballs through defenders and is brought down 2 metres short of the line. About 5 minutes left the uprights right now for the Eels. Finding Tavita Massimo, who will stab a kick crossfield, looking for Samuel Loizu. Big man jumps up high, but in the contest, the ball has been batted into the end goals, and they're ruling a line dropout, it looks like, 60s.
Yeah, it was a bit hard to tell whether there was any fingertips there from Loizu, but given the way that the Roosters players reacted, you'd have to suggest that it was off Rooster hands.
Yeah.
And then they batted it dead, so we've got the line dropout. Mate, how good is Tarsi James going at the
having
moment?
a sensational first half here, and credit to Tavita Massimo there for a nicely weighted kick to set up the opportunity for a line dropout. As we await the Roosters for their set restart attempt here. They're going to get underneath the ball. It's going to fly out to about 40 metres out as Schneider secures possession and then turns, I believe, Luke Bain into the defensive line there. Eels going to play to the left edge short side. Schneider playing short to Tassapali, who takes 2 defenders into the ground and will play the ball about 12 metres off the goal line. Right now, a bit of a sloppy pass, but Schneider tidies up nicely, finding Luke Bain, who centres the ball to the 10-metre mark right in front of the uprights. Options
He's having a busy first half, mate.
Yeah, getting
Bain.
heavily involved now. Good first impression from the nuggety forward. Options either side for the Eels. They play to the left and find Caleb Towie, who spins through contact and will be brought down about 1.5 metres short of the line. Which way the Eels play here now? Shaping up to go to the left as Yates finds Kyle Schneider, turns Peter Teo back on the inside, beats the first defender and is pulled down short of the line, bringing up the last. Parramatta will work to their right on the last with a short ball, and the Roosters did not see that one coming, and the try scorer is Jaden Yates, it looks like. Has Yates thrown a dummy there and gone over? We have railing right in front of us, ladies and folks, so we're having a hard time.
Yeah, we've got Jaden Yates gone over. Yates listed in the 13, but playing at dummy half
Correct.
today.
And it looks like he's going to be playing the full game at dummy half because there is no Ethan LeBlanc on the bench.
Yeah, he's a player that the Roosters probably have to watch out of dummy half because he's not opposed to having a shot from the dummy half position.
Well, Yates built in that sort of hybrid lock forward hooker role that's become so popular in the modern game. Started as a lock forward for the Eels and has been working hard on his dummy half responsibilities And good to see that shining through right there as he picked his moment and on the 5th tackle dives over from short range and gets the Eels back a nice 2-score lead potentially.
Well, I think he's always been renowned as quite a powerful with his carries, and that's been what's held him in good stead to be able to interchange between the lock forward role and the dummy half role. And we saw just then the threat that he offers with that strength. Even he certainly caught the Roosters defenders unawares, but there was that strength to get through the tackle that was there, as we see Schneider now lining the ball up. He's 20 metres in from the Eels left-hand touch line, the Wendy Leagues side of the field.
As the halftime siren rings out here, this will be the last points or play before Oranges. Taking his approach now. Nice and casual as he strikes it and puts it through the uprights to give the Eels the 2-score lead at half-time. The Parramatta Eels leading 20 to the Sydney Roosters 12. A pretty solid first half when all was said and done, mate.
Yes, mate. Now, apologies to the people who didn't quite catch that. And to be fair, it almost seemed like the half was over as soon as it started. Such was the action, such was the work that we were doing to try and get our call up and running for you to follow. Now, very, very good played from a certain number of players. So we've got Tazi James, absolutely dominated through the centre of the field.
They're too big and too strong for the Sydney Roosters
absolutely
defence.
Absolutely too big, too strong. I'm quite happy with the work that Schneider's doing out of the halfback role today, mate. It's
a career dummy half that has been sort of caretaker halfback for the Eels in 2021, and he's doing a very good job, isn't he? Organising the team nicely, taking the ball to the line and using his option on the left in Shabel Tasapawi, really setting up the option for Clayton Failolo in the second half on that sweep.
Yeah, it's probably harkening back to his days as a Newcastle junior,
yes,
Kyle Schneider, because I believe he started off as a 5'8", when he was around 14, 15 years of age, and identified by the Eels and Anthony Field as a potential switch into the dummy half role. And so he's played probably the best part of the last 5 years in that dummy half role. However, when they've been short, when the Eels have been short in the halves, he's been the go-to fella to fill in those halves role. I'd have to say, I'm going to go out on a limb. I reckon this first half in the halfback role is probably the most comfortable that I've seen him in the halves in all the years that I've watched. He's been a standout dummy half, but to my mind, he's always looked like he's a caretaker role in that halfback spot. And to all intents and purposes, he probably still is in a caretaker role in the halfback position. They will revert back to the dummy half role at some point in the next few weeks. However, today he looks like a halfback playing halfback.
Yes, and that's a large part of the reason why the Eels do have that 8-point lead at halftime. But looking across the team list, mate, I was impressed with Matthew Komalafi's workload, always getting involved early in the sets and helping the Eels get on the front foot. Beyond that, Tavita Masma had a couple of nice touches. We already gave Tarsi James a fair shout-out, and he's been fantastic. Luke Bain, impressive off the bench in his first hit-out for us. But the Roosters took their chances too, scoring 2 tries. So the game is far from over, and there's plenty of work to do for the Blue and Gold in the second half.
Yeah, it's very good work by Bain, mate. He's what do we know about him at this stage?
I honestly know very little about Bain coming into this game, so we might have to go and throw it off to Ham Sandwich on the side here and see what he knows about the forward prospect.
So he's been an acquisition from another club, and I'm sure that I was told earlier that he might have originated in the United States. So if so, that's an interesting path that he's trod to get to the Eels pathway system. So just on the other players that you mentioned, your thoughts on Peter Tateo, mate?
Yeah, Pete's been one of our favourite players in the junior rep system for a long time. Capable of playing at lock forward on either edge comfortably. Very explosively built. I hate making NRL comparisons, and by saying this sort of name, I'm not trying to say he's going to live up to that sort of expectation. But he reminds me a little bit of David Fafita and his explosiveness taking on the line, and that's obvious that he's not trying to put that sort of expectation on he's going to be David Fafita, but he's that compact and powerful build on the edge. Yeah,
and when it's time for making comparisons, we don't actually do that from the point of view of of making, as you say, suggesting that
Expectations
someone
or ceilings
looks
or
anything like that, because one of the things that we try to do is to try to give you like a mental picture of the type of play that someone does. It's the sort of thing where if we try to create a visual picture of how a player runs, how a player sets up players outside them, it's not saying that this particular player is the next,
David Fafita or Payne Haas or Cameron Smith.
No. We're trying to draw a bit of a mental picture for you for some of these younger players. Who could you liken their style to? Now, as I said, it doesn't mean that they are going to be anything like a player that we might draw some sort of playing style comparison to. But yeah, just to give you a bit of that mental picture.
And the thing I really love about Pete is that he has a go with the ball, and he's a devastating carrier in that regard with a nice offload and great footwork. But it's in defence that he really tears in. He's not afraid to put his body on the line and whack the opposition.
Yeah, one of the things that we noted when we were following the SG ball season is players like Peter Tateo, they don't have any half measures with what they go in and how they go about their work. So they rip in offense, they rip in defense, and occasionally you'll get an error carrying a ball because it's not through lack of attention to detail. It's just that the player goes at full pelt and doesn't know anything different, and sometimes that means that they're carrying the ball into the collision where maybe an experienced player might put on a little bit of a step before the line to take their body away from a full impact of a collision.
Yep.
Whereas
the veteran move,
they're just prepared to rip in and cop the full body check from whoever the defender is. So I think Peter's been having a quite a good run since he's been elevated from the SG ball to Jersey Fleggg. And
it's now good to see some of those reinforcements trickling back into this team, whether it's senior players like, I say senior players loosely because they're still young, but Matthew Komalafi and Samuel Loizu and Tarsi James, guys like that coming in from the top end of a squad reinforcing it, as well as those SG ball prospects that we've really been pumping up and gassing up because they've brought so much energy into the lineup, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. And when we've spoken about the New South Wales Cup, we've spoken about the excitement of seeing the younger players who are being elevated up into senior football. I'm making an observation about this grade. What we're actually seeing is a number of players who've had the experience of an NRL pre-season being able to apply their skill set into the Jersey Fleggg level.
And seeing someone like Tarsi James, who was locking horns with all the old Bulls in the full-time squad, coming back and dominating the Jersey Fleggg isn't a surprise for you, is it, mate?
No, 100%. He had some moments during the pre-season where he was ripping in, like he is today, and ripping into the experienced forwards. And there was a couple of times where, apart from the fact that I really didn't want to write too much about the younger players in the pre-season and put too many expectations on them, there were a couple of occasions where I could have given a real good write-up to some of the work done by players like Tarsi James, who, as I said, was locking horns with experienced players and holding his own in different aspects. So it was a good introduction to the pre-season, a good introduction to what he can expect if his career is to progress. And I think that's the idea for some of these younger players. The coaches get a bit of an idea about what their application is to the levels of training that they need to do to be successful. And in this instance, he's probably had a few ticks put next to his name from the pre-season. And not only, but on top of that, he's probably learnt quite a bit and maybe had a bit of feedback about what he needs to do going forward in terms of the efforts at training and execution in matches. So we've now got the players back out on the field. Just
before we get into the second half, I want to give a quick shout out to the following Eels who have earned representative honours for the junior reps in 2021. No state of origin this year for the juniors, are reverting back to a city versus country format, under 16s and under 18s, which actually contrasts the mats and ball. But for the Eels in the 16s, Tyrese Lekeni, Blaze Talangi, Sam Tuivasa is under 16, would you believe that, 60s, and Coach Stephen O'Day will be representing the city team. In the under 18s, Jock Brazel, Jabril Kalachi, Miles Martin and Ethan Sanders will be playing for the City team as well. So well done to all those Eels prospects. So you got Ethan Sanders and I believe Miles Martin playing up a year young there in the under 18s. So that's a fair credit to them there. And I can't believe that Sam Tuivasa is under 16. So he'll be back in the Harold Matthews next year.
He's one of those 6 or 7 players that are going to be backing up and making them an even tougher prospect next year. And again, full credit to how they performed against a much bigger and probably older Manly squad,
definitely.
I would suggest, in that grand final. So we're just about to have the kick-off.
We finally get the ball back on the field here.
Finally got the ball out on the field. Parramatta's kicking off.
Running towards the Great Western Highway.
Yeah, Great Western Highway. And over to you, 40, for the call.
Thank you. Players are lined up as Jaden Yates takes a kick-off, I believe. Or is it? No. Yeah, it is Jaden Yates kicking off. There you go. So the lock forward come dummy half getting the second half underway. Roosters playing it to their prop forward, who works it down their left edge, gets the ball out to about 20 metres out, so it's a solid carry first up. Tricolours stacking to the right from that left edge short side and playing that way as they look to center the ball on the second tackle. Continuing with that right edge work for the Roosters, coming through the ruck now. Strong carries, the Eels coming in with 3 men defending the ball, taking that third tackle about 33 metres out from the Roosters line. 2 passes wide, 3 passes wide for cut-out pass, creating the overlap for the Roosters as they play down the right edge sideline. That's their right centre who comes to the fullback far lower, but plays to the winger. That is a great opening try, and that puts the Roosters right back in the hunt as their right edge winger, I believe, Vuati Karawalevu, scoring down on the far side, right in front of that canteen 60s.
Mate, this absolutely beaten for pace over on that right
edge. He showed some toe in the first half of that kick return where he beat a number of Eels kick returners and set them up for that try that led to the 8-point score. So the right winger for the Roosters doing plenty of damage in this contest.
Yeah, he was given the look. It was good team play. They created the overlap on their right side. As you said, ball was out to the winger. Far too much for the Eels cover defence, streaked away, untouched. And the Roosters are now back within 4 points of the Eels. And we've got a sideline conversion coming up.
Bearing in mind that the last attempt from the sideline was doinked in off the upright, so not a bad effort thereabouts from the Roosters goal scorer, who I can actually get now. We've got one of there. Corey Fenning is the fullback is the winger turned fullback is also the goal kicker here for the Tricolours. And once again, the ball not in position. I'm not really sure what's going on, but the ball eventually finds its way to Fenning's hands. He will now set up. I think, is he going to take the shot that far out? Interesting. So he's taking the ball back nearly 30 metres here to take his shot at goal. That's the old opening up the angle. Yeah, open up the angle, but he's going to need a fair bit of distance here on the strike, using Pythagoras' old theorem on the hypotenuse. So as we wait for Fenning to get the ball lined up, ideally off the tee, Eels marshalled in a group behind the goals, or behind the in-goals rather, or in the in-goals rather. I got their third time the charm. Looking to marshal themselves for their defensive set in the upcoming kickoff. Fenning ready to take his shot at goal, it looks like. Adjust the pants. Doesn't pull up the socks though, as he leans in, rocking back and forth. We're going to get there eventually.
He's dancing to the beat of his own drum.
He's just grooving out there.
He's still rocking backwards and forth for people listening at home. He's up to about the 10th rock.
Rock back, raises the right knee, steps in. That's a fair strike. That is a fair strike, but waved away to the right of the uprights from Fenning's facing. And the Eels will hold on to a 4-point lead with just over 8 minutes played in this. Sorry, no, it is 35 minutes in these games. So just over 3 minutes played in the second half.
Mate, maybe he could actually take it out to the 40-metre line next time and open up that angle even more, because I tell you what, that strike was something else.
Pretty clean off the tee, wasn't it?
Mate, I can remember in the days with the old leather footballs, you'd barely get it over the crossbar from out on the sideline on the quarter line. Anyway, we've had the Eels are kicked off and the Roosters are bringing it back to their quarter line.
Another strong opening carry from the Tricolours, working down their left edge and back towards the middle as per the last set. Hopefully the Eels marking up better down their left edge this time around. As play continues through the middle, I can't really tell who the Roosters are, to be honest, without the benefit of the numbers, given that they're facing toward us. So apologies for a lack of quality naming to opposition players there. Tricolours continuing to work to the right, turning their right edge back rower towards the ruck there, who I believe would be, I'm not sure if that's Ryan Mann or Jacob Preston, my apologies. A nice offload there late in the tackle, sees the Roosters get the second phase play over halfway, but the pass from there is dropped backwards, meaning that the Roosters have to scramble back and recover before making a half break. Stabbing a low kick on the last, setting up their winger number 20 to take the ball, but a courageous play from Clayton Fa'alolo sees him win the race to the ball, spin out of the contact and gain a few metres, putting his body on the line there, mate.
Mate, he braced for impact, and the Roosters player sort of
just brushed past him,
swung off him, and he had this surprised look on his face, like, I'm not buried into the ground here.
So Jabril Kalachi and Matthew Komalafi taking hit-ups in the set, but Kalafi is met strongly and driven backwards. Eels playing out to, is that Ollie Clements out there, mate? Hard to tell from our angle once again, but Jaden Yates working the ball to Atasi James, who was very strong once again. Oh, sorry, not Atasi James, rather. That is Jonte Jr. Beffin-Meza off the bench. As Schneider drives it downfield and finds, no, doesn't, well, he finds touch, but on the full. I thought that was going to be one bounce into touch, but it's sailed well over the sideline on the far side. And the Roosters now for huge chances. Play resumes 10 metres into Parramatta's half with a full set of tackles at their disposal.
This could be a critical turnover to the Roosters setting up on the 40-metre line.
Yes, sir. We talked about completing your sets and not giving the opposition cheap turnovers, and that's exactly what the Eels have done there. Meaning that the Roosters have a chance to at least level the scores and maybe go ahead here for a try.
There is some serious contact going on out there, mate.
Yeah, that's Ollie Clements there, number 11, cutting down an opposition forward there. Roosters working to their right and playing to their right edge back rower. Once again, not sure if that is Jacob Preston or Riley Main, so my apologies to the Roosters. Coming back to the uprights now as they play one to the ruck and then offload the ball, continue to the left, but the Eels will dive on a loose or errant pass as Jabril Kalachi is showing a little bit of hustle to get to that ball and get the turnover.
Mate, I was thinking they were going to move it to the left to set up for a raid back to the right, but unfortunately for the Roosters, the ball's come free and the Eels now have it 40 metres out from their own line on the second tackle.
Yeah, Sammy Loisy taking the carry up there before Charbel Tassapali sought his infield. Nearly beats the first defender, but is eventually pulled down just short of halfway. Options either side for the Eels. They will play to their right as Jaden Yates says... Jaden Yates? No, it's Bain, sorry. Once again, same issue we had last night with the two forwards looking similar, but in this case it is Bain who takes the ball up and gets a penalty. Jaden Yates takes a quick tap and will go through the centre field and is pulled down after about a gain of 11 metres. Eels on the attack, playing to their left as number 14, I believe that is Caleb Towie, goes down the left edge of a strong carry. The ball was reefed out of his grasp, but the ref rules play on. Eels do recover the ball and get 6 again. Huge chance now for the Eels to extend their lead as they play to the left edge short side. That's Charbel Tassapali or Tarsi James there, 60s. Hard that they are so far away from us from our vantage point here, but the Eels will come back to the right as Schneider links up with Tarsi James. That would have been Charbel Tassapali. Strong carry that takes him to the posts. Setting up options for the Eels to the right as Schneider plays one wide to Tavita Massimo, who was brought down. Jaden Yates jumps out of dummy half and links up with Bain on the short ball. He is tackled just left the uprights. I believe that might be the last. Playing left now to Massimo, who plays wide to Schneider, but he goes behind a man and is going to have to eat the tackle. And that is now the last, my apologies. So Eels playing to the right edge, open side, Massimo first receiver, kicking the ball cross field, looking to find one of his centre or winger pairing. Ball was taken by Kalachi, who finds support, but the Roosters quickly wrap up Tassapali there.
Good defence there from the Roosters. We've got the turnover about just before the quarter line there.
Yes, correct. And score update here with 9 minutes played in the second half. Parramatta Eels 20 lead the Sydney Roosters 16. Roosters having scored in their opening possession in the second half.
How about that carry in the previous set from Towie?
Yeah, well, we know, much like Peter Tateo, who's a little pocket rocket, isn't he? Not hugely tall, but tall enough functionally, but so explosive and powerful.
Yeah, and he's another player that I omitted to mention was part of the Eels pre-season, so part of his learning curve as he progresses through the grades.
So Kobe Ruggless helping his forwards work through the middle here as he jumps out of dummy half and gets over halfway, finding a short ball to one of his props who offloads to the right. Numbers for the Roosters here, but the Eels have jammed up. They spin through the contact and break a tackle, getting a few more metres after contact. Eventually the Eels will come back and wrap up the ball carrier. but the play has taken 12 metres into Parramatta's half. Roosters continue to play to the right edge short side, roll through a short grubber. Komalafi is going to have to get on his bike and get back. He does that, but loses it backwards. Well, that's going to be a penalty, surely? No, okay. So Komalafi has lost it backwards, but Falolo is on hand to tidy it up. Looks like the Roosters tried to drag him the touch, but has stopped short of a line, which means, for whatever reason, they don't call it a penalty, even though if they'd gone a little bit further, it's a penalty. Tough set now for the Eels, though, as they look to work it out of their red zone. Already 2 or 3 tackles used just to get it to the 20-metre mark with the tricolours aiming up in defence.
There's no question that the Roosters' right side is their go-to attacking side. They pose a threat every time they're going there. As we see the Eels throwing the ball out the back there, the ball's hit the ground. It's getting a bit scrappy here. They're under pressure. 4th tackle.
That was Sam Loiser there after carrying offload. He flung it out a bit too far. Thankfully, the ball got back to the advantage point there as Jonte Junior Befamiza, oh my goodness, sets the Eels up for the kick on the last strong carry, but it's fallen apart, almost fallen apart as the errant pass to Massima nearly sees him tackle, but he dummies and goes and links up to his right edge with Ollie Clements, finding support back on the inside. They kick ahead, and the Roosters do really well to recover the ball, and now in a counter-attack, they've managed to get it back out 35 metres from their line. That is edge to edge. That's almost end-to-end play there, 60s. Oh, no. That's a moment of madness, unfortunately. The ref has called held. The Eels looking to force the runner into touch, and that is an easy penalty for going on after the tackle's been completed.
Mate, that passage of play.
As the number 3 for the Roosters takes the tap restart, instead of looking for a kick and catch the Eels unawares, cutting through the right side defence, the Parramatta Eels before getting back for the middle. He is cut down by the support, and that is Jack Mossman for the Roosters.
I'll come back to that, trying to describe that passage of play, because I'm not sure if I can find the adjectives for it. And
naturally, the Roosters do go to that strong right edge for them, but this time the Eels rally magnificently to bring down the big winger Vuati Karolevu, and put him into touch. Oof.
Mate, you described that as a moment of madness. I'm going to describe that passage of play, that 30 seconds, as Jersey Fleggg in a nutshell.
Distilled Jersey Fleggg right there. So a sloppy pass from dummy half puts Tavita Massima under immense pressure to clear the ball. He steps the first chaser, links up with Ollie Clements on his right, who then links up with his outside support, setting the Eels off back down the right. They kick ahead. It's a well-weighted kick, but the cover defence from the Roosters is there faster. They get back 35 metres, get the penalty, tap and go, and then nearly score them the average before they're bundled in the touch, all in the sequence of about 1 minute.
And I thought the try was on if there wasn't the kick ahead.
Yes, just playing through the hands there was the option, as the big hyphen Jonte Jr. gets the Eels underway in the reply set. Bain takes it up near about 12 metres short of halfway for the blue and gold. Playing back towards the middle of the field now as the hyphen gets his second carry of a set, but has a quick ball out to Caleb Towie, but good defence meets the nuggety back rower strongly, means that he can't get 20 metres in gain. Left now to Schneider, who will kick ahead, drives it low and flat looking for the sideline, and the ball will be marked out. I'd say that's about 10 metres out of the line, 60s.
Mate, that's sort of like the dark recesses of Ringrose Park over in that corner.
Yeah,
it's
that's
for any of us
uncharted territory at this time of night.
If we were able to bring you the vision of that corner of the field, you'd have to suggest that the lighting is not quite reaching there. So if we're a little bit uncertain about who's got the ball up in that corner or how far out from the line it is, yeah, we are under night conditions, and the floodlights don't quite drop in that corner. So as we've got the Roosters bringing the ball about 35 metres out from their line. Good
first up contact by Clements and Jonte Junior Befamiza to start the set defensive for the Eels. Bain and Towie combine on the next tackle. As the Roosters work to their right but turn their back roll back inside, beats a couple of tackles and nearly makes a break up the middle before he is cut down by Jaden Yates. Save the Eels, not Jaden Yates, but Bain there, Luke Bain, my apologies. Let's say the Eels some blushes there as play comes back for a completed tackle, but the player got up and continued. Roosters continue to work to their left. Their reserve dummy half is on the field now and plays to the centre, Jack Mossman, who made that break just minutes ago. He is well tackled this time around by Kalachi and Loizu, bringing up the last of the Roosters playing the ball about 21 metres out. About 21 metres out from the line. There's some extracurriculars in the tackles. It looks like the Roosters player pushed Kalachi but gets the penalty. Not really sure what was going on there, but it gives the Roosters a fresh set right on the door.
You'd have to say the Eels disciplines, not just in their defence, but also in the way they're carrying the ball, starting to get a bit loose, mate.
Left edge back row, Jacob Preston for the Roosters taking the opening hit up. Roosters now playing it to the centre of the post as their number 23, Brave Verheyen, careens into the defensive line and is carried over into the in goals. Eels never at risk of being scored on there, but it will come back for a 10-metre restart or 10-metre play the ball. Still more extracurriculars going on here. Is lots of the referee has to step in at some point. There's so much pushing going on. I have not, no. Yeah. So there is now time off as the Eels are being cautioned, even though it's the Roosters causing a lot of the stirring here, unless both teams will receive cautions. But nothing serious going on, but just lots of pushing.
And we're simply back to a play the ball, so obviously just a bit of a caution there.
Number 14 for the Roosters is Michael Coleman. He plays it right as
Leading that
Komalafi
right.
shoots out, but it doesn't make the tackle. Forces the Roosters back infield as it beats a number of defenders, but is tackled about 7 metres short of the goal line, but gets the ball away and gets the ball away to a support runner, my apologies, who crashes over against the retreating defence, and that sees the Roosters lock the scores up with a kick to come from about 5 minutes to the right of the uprights.
It was almost like the Eels clocked off there. It looked like the Roosters' play had broken down, and then the offload came, and it was one of those charges where the Roosters player got down low to the ground, charged to the line. Eels' defence wasn't ready. As I said, it was like they'd switched off, and we now have a scoreline of 20-all, and you'd be backing the Roosters kicker to kick this because it's just a couple of metres to the right of the uprights. Yeah,
given that Corey Fenning's been striking the ball pretty nicely on his last few attempts, he should put this one over without too many problems, and the Roosters will claim the lead with 20 minutes left in this game, mate. And we spoke at half-time about the Eels needing to go on and finish this job, and they have not done that at all in the second half.
No, as I said, they've got very loose, and you're seeing their attacking structures seem to have broken down. They're not communicating. They're not communicating in attack or defence. And just then, it looked like the Eels had stopped the attacking raid down that the Roosters had set up on their right. Komalafi came in for the jam, although he didn't take the player to the ground.
He did force him back in field.
He forced him back in field, didn't let him link up with the winger who'd been doing all sorts of damage to the Eels during this game. He's come back in field. It looked like the play had been stopped, but then the offload happened. And as I said, if you're going to switch off, if you're going to think the play's stopped, man, if you're not playing to the referee's call, then you're
going to
in
get
trouble.
punished. You're going to get pantsed, and that's what happened to the blue and gold. So the Roosters looking to take their conversion now.
He's rocking
and swaying and swinging.
What are we up to? Oh, is the step.
And we got it, and he approaches and raises the flags from both touch judges.
And he's put it out on the Smith Street.
And he's absolutely drilled it over the clubhouse.
Almost.
With just over 18 minutes left in the second half, the Parramatta Eels now trail 20 to the Sydney Roosters 22. Going to need to get in the gear, mate. I wouldn't be surprised to see some reinforcements come back onto the field with the Eels looking to regain control of the ruck in particular.
Well, they're going to need to stop the rot at this stage because you'd say the last few minutes has been their worst of the match.
By far. As Jaden Yates gets us back underway, kicking towards the Roosters' centre field this time around. Roosters will work it to their right in response. My apologies, got a cricket in my throat right there. As more pushing goes on in the ruck, this is very sloppy as Colovardi combines with Yates, I believe, to make the tackle there. As the dummy half, Brave Verheyen, Michael Coleman, looks to pass the ball for play is brought back for a play the ball. Not infringement, but miscue, which sees the Roosters have to replay the ball. The Roosters work the ball down their right edge and continue that way as Coleman jumps out of dummy half and links up with a man who has gone down in a non-contact fashion. He has fallen at the feet of the Parramatta Eels and is instantly signalled play off. It looks like a serious injury, unfortunately, for the Tricolours. He is not in a good way. This is rather unfortunate, mate.
Mate, this looks like a nasty injury.
He right before the contact came, he fell, and the Eels just touched him down and didn't make any attempts to tackle him because he was clearly in a bad way. Trainers immediately rush onto the field, and play is going to be off for some time, I dare say, as they look to treat this poor young man and ascertain what's gone wrong.
In some respects, when you've got a nasty injury like this, I'm glad that it hasn't come from contact, because I worry about the sort of injury that comes from contact. And but just as you also have some people that say that the injuries that are non-contact, where you get an ACL or ankle injury, the Achilles injuries, obviously they're a worry because they haven't come from contact, and they can be some of the injuries that take you out for a long period of time. But in this instance, it's non-contact. We're only going to speculate. I don't really want to speculate, but it does look like a nasty injury. They're taking lots of care over the player at the moment, but I just want to assure people that it's not an injury that's come from contact. It's not an injury that's...
No malice or foul play involved,
it's not an injury that's come to the head or the neck. So that's why I want to emphasise that it's when you see these sorts of injuries, I'm happy when it's not a contact one, because then I'm not worried about the sorts of injuries where there's perhaps greater concern. He's sitting up at the moment, which is a good sign. Obviously, there's still a significant injury, but he is sitting up.
And is that number 20 for the Tricolours? No, they haven't got number 20 listed, so I'd say it's number 23. Might be Brave Verheyen for the Roosters. No, 23 has come out, so it would be Josh Bevan. It'd be Josh Bevan, I believe. No, there is a 20.
Now, you called this replacement, you called the reinforcements just a short time ago, mate, and the Eels have brought on big number 25.
Yeah, big Tarsi James From back into the fray. And
we know the sort of damage that Tarsi was doing earlier in the match.
I think that might be the right winger for the left winger, Michael Lyons, if it is number 20 for the Tricolours. So he's been added off by two trainers.
Some sort of leg injury.
Yeah, he is walking, but it looks to probably be a knee injury based on the fact that he's walking, but is added off with two people helping him sling arms on both sides. Play does resume on halfway as Coleman finds number 23, which is Brave Verheyen. Coleman now playing it to the left for the Roosters, who put up a bomb from about 8 metres in the Parramatta's half. Going to put the test up for Sam Loizu, who takes it comfortably and beats the initial chaser, taking about 3 or 4 metres back on the kick return.
Very composed in that take, mate. Yeah, Samuel Loizu.
Not ideal lighting conditions here out Ringrose today, but he's done a good job there as Jabril Kalachi beats a couple of initial defenders to make a good gain there, get the Eels out about 29 metres out from their line, setting up a run for Matthew Komalafi. All the outside backs getting heavily involved in this set. Parramatta Eels playing the ball to the left. Jaden Yates finding Jonte Jr.
Mate, the commentators curse.
It was Jonte Jr., not I believe Jonte Jr.?
No, I think that was...
Is it 15 or 25? Because they're both...
You're right. It was Jonte Jr.
Yeah, Jonte juggled the ball going to contact. Looked like he pulled it in, but then lost it as the Roosters made the tackle, setting up the Tricolours for a chance to extend the lead now. So huge defensive set for the Eels. And that is a great offload from their halfback, who finds their prop forward, number 10, who is big Luca Moretti, pulled down just 2 metres short of the line. All the running here for the Roosters. They go to the right, finding their number 24, who sort of hesitates and perhaps runs behind a teammate, meaning he can't take further advantage, giving the Eels a brief respite. Coleman plays to the left, the Roosters finding his other dummy half compatriot, who uses their lock forward. Uses Jacob Preston, my apologies, down the left edge. Coleman now jumping to dummy half once again. Slow play the ball as the Roosters struggle with the ball out, finding the 5'8" playing to the right, who finds the fullback, who has now a 2-on-2 out wide, kicks ahead for his winger, and what has happened there? Line dropout, it looks like.
I think Komalafi's managed to clean that up. So we've had the grubber kick that's been put in behind Komalafi. So he's actually managed to turn quite quickly and get back when he's got the Roosters' right side, who have been so damaging today, just absolutely tearing in over the top of him. But he's cleaned it up. We've got the line dropout from the Eels.
Big line dropout.
It's a huge one. It's out out to the 50-metre line.
Yeah, flying out just past the 50-metre line down the left edge for the Roosters as they work back into the middle of the field. Parramatta obviously needing to muscle up in this set. With 15 minutes left in this contest, they don't want to fall too far behind. And Tricolours continue to rumble it up through the middle, stacking to the left where they go that way, and playing out to their halfback, who dummies and goes, but is pulled down by Charbel Tassapali, I believe. No, Jack Collivar. Ollie Clements, my bad. Back to the middle now for the Roosters, setting up the work either way here.
The Eels will need to hold him out here, mate.
And they are going to go to the preferred right edge here, it looks like, for Coleman. He's wanting a 6 again, but no, he fakes to go right, comes back to the left, finding his dummy half compatriot, Kobe Ruggless, who was pulled down about a metre short of a line. He's going to get away fast, play the ball to Coleman, who plays to the block play for his number 6, finding Fenning on the sweep. Fenning beats the initial defender, but is then pulled down as great cover defence stops the Tricolours from scoring. And that looks like Ollie Clements once again in the 4. Coleman playing out wide to his number 6, who stabs in a neat kick in behind the posts. That will roll too deep, yes. So looked like it was fairly well weighted off the boot, but it just rolled on, and the Parramatta Eels get out of jail, and we'll have a 7-tackle reset.
Mate, it was really a get out of jail in that instance, because the Roosters' second phase and the way they're linking, the players are linking, it's causing all sorts of troubles for the Eels.
So Charbel Tasapawi takes a tap restart for the Eels midfield from 20 metres out. Gets about 10 metres before Matthew Komalafi comes in second, taking 9 metres of his own. Right as number 16, which is Lennox Whitaker for the Eels, takes the ball over halfway. Really strong carry there from the bench forward. Yates jumps out of dummy half and finds Caleb Towie with optimistic offload that then eventually finds Tarsi James. Is that 60s? Yes, it finds Tarsi James, who scoops it up and takes the ball further into the Roosters' half. Stacked left edge for the Parramatta Eels, and they do go that way. Massima at first receiver, taking on the line, and he's pulled down. Bit of a flop there from the Roosters, but it's not called up. Right as Yates jumps out of dummy half, gets 6 again for a non-straight marker. Eels on the surge here, huge opportunity to score. Lots of tackles left in this set as they play left via Yates. Back inside to, is that Davey Hollis now back on the field?
Composure here, mate. We need composure.
Yates jumping out of dummy half. And has he got it down? They're going to signal to the spot. No. Held up. So Yates has jumped out of dummy half from about 5 metres out. And the team has celebrated, but the referee took a strong look at it and sort of spotted himself up on the side to make sure he had an informed decision, and has signalled held up. So the ball will come out.
That's an interesting call, because didn't he just jump up and score after the contact? And he's called him held up.
Yeah, so he's immediately called held up, and the ball will come back out 10 metres as we expected. Yates to play the ball. Big right edge here for Parramatta. Schneider at first receiver, finding the big hyphen at second receiver, who then links up with Tavita Massima. So Bethan Meza to Tarsi James, my apologies. Right there for Massima once again, and he's pulled down short. And there will be a penalty going to the way of Parramatta, I believe. Yeah, so hands on the ball there.
At 22-20, mate, what do we do here? 22 all?
12 and a half left on the clock. There are draws in the Jersey Fleggg, so if you're playing the win, you tap and go, and that's what the Eels do, sending Ollie Clements into the defensive line. Yates playing it wide to big Jonte Junior Befameza, who was just pulled down in front of the uprights. Good defence by the Tricolours. That's going to be a penalty, surely? No? Yeah, 6 again. Yeah, so the dummy half was obstructed by an offside player, who then still gets the ball away to Tarsi James. And has he got that down? No, he is short. He's beaten about 3 or 4 defenders in the space of a 2-metre circumference circle, but has eventually pulled down a long cutout pass, and that is way off the mark. Lots of tackles left in the hand, and they've gone for the miracle option, and it has not come up at all.
The least said about that pass, the better, because if you'd like to call that the Harbour Bridge pass, then that harbour, Sydney Harbour's a little bit wider than we anticipated.
Yeah, that's the Golden Gate Bridge pass, mate. That's gone far too wide off the mark, and looks like it was inspired by Sam Walker in some regards, but it was just not on. Eels have plenty of tackles left up their sleeves and the opportunity to really grind the Roosters down, and they took the easy option and lost because of it. Or lost that opportunity because of it, sorry. Roosters now working it just through the middle in reply. Some good meters available for them, as they take the ball short of halfway with a couple of tackles to spare. Eels meet them strongly on the 4th with one more tackle at hand for the Tricolours. They're going to play to the left. Early kick here? No, they're going to play out the back, but Massima meets his opposition number and helps make the tackle with the aid of Ollie Clements. Does bring up the last of the Roosters just inside Parramatta's half. They're going to look for a midfield bomb, perhaps. Yeah, they're going for the torpedo. They're going for the torpedo bomb, and it's being miscued massively. But the right winger has picked it up sensationally with the ball not travelling forwards by any capacity, but straight across to him. He's taken it on his knees just about, and then is quickly wrapped up by the Parramatta Eels. That's good cover defence from the blue and gold.
again, trying to find the words to describe that passage of play.
Jersey Fleggg.
Good luck to you, mate. That's all I'll say.
Peak Jersey Fleggg right there. Komalafi getting the Eels underway early in their set. Parramatta continue to work it to their right as Schneider uses Jabril Kalachi on a short ball. He beats his first man, looking to link up with Ollie Clements, but he can't do so, and the Tricolours will bring him down on halfway. Solid carry, though, from Kalachi. Yates at dummy half, looking to his left, working to his Sam Loyes, who's coming off his right wing to take a carry. Nice hot. Well, get on it. Hello. Yeah, so he did. That was the correct call. Sam Loyes, who once again has looked for an offload, probably forced it out a little bit too hard. Eels not awake to it. And in the dive for the ball, the Roosters have lost it forwards in the contest.
But, mate, I'd have to say, the offload's on if you've got the players that are in the game, in the moment, and there's been too many occasions today, if I'm going to be really critical of the Eels, where we've switched off. And that was, again, another one of those moments where the offload came and not one player was watching for the offload.
From the
they
scrum.
Were just thinking about the next play.
From the scrum win, Falolo plays it to Massima plays it to Clayton Falolo, who takes it in the line. Ollie Clements will run the ball on the second. Yates at dummy half, working it to his left, finding Massima at first receiver, who turns Jonte Junior Befamiza back inside. Good carry from the prop forward there. Left again for the Parramatta Eels. No, right. There's a fake going one way. Tarsi James continues to shift out to Jabril Kalachi, who finds Samuel Loizu. Loizu's nearly bundled a touch before he flings it back in the field of play. Ollie Clements cleans it up and is going to lose a number of metres, but the Eels will retain possession. So given the opportunity, still put some pressure on the Tricolours. Clements gets to his feet and plays the ball as Yates finds Tarsi James, a big lock forward, getting into the line, trying to get behind the ruck. Brought down, bring up the last. Yates jumps out dummy half, cut out past Jabril Kalachi, finds Samuel Loizu, but Loizu is driven backwards, and the Eels will turn it over on tackles as the Tricolours hold their line with a great goal line stand.
Mate, terrific goal line defence from the Roosters, and you can probably hear that we're down the Roosters supporter end of the stand. And if you're looking at what the Eels did there, they just kept jamming it into the corner and minimising their own opportunities, unfortunately.
Yeah, they let we talked about it last night, but they let the sideline become a defender for the Tricolours, and they did a very good job using that advantage. With just over 8 minutes left in the second half, Parramatta do trail by 2 points, 22-20. They do have the territorial advantage at this time, but the Tricolours are rucking the ball out strongly, or they have in the last few sets.
And we're starting to get down to the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, just under 8 minutes left. So definitely in the championship minutes now. Ball does pop out, and the referee's going to signal a knock on. So a huge chance here for the Tricolours. Looks like Jaden Yates in the thick of things, as lots of gesticulating and complaining to the official, but the Eels will get the loose head and feed from 30 metres out centre field in the Sydney Roosters half.
Now, even though we're talking about, as I said, just on 7 minutes of play left, I still think it's important for the Eels to be patient here.
Yeah.
Not to push or panic the passes.
Well, that's what they did last time with that Harbour Bridge pass, and it really, 2 sets before, and that undid them, didn't it? So play the percentages here. Control the ball, and you'll have your opportunities. As Yates finds Schneider, who then uses Charbel Tassapali down the left edge. Ball is played right on that left edge sideline as Komalafi plays it back to Schneider, who will turn Lennox Whittaker into the defensive line. Good post meters from there, from the head-geared bench forward, Yates a dummy half, using Kyle Schneider at first receiver, who plays short to Atasi James. Well met by the Roosters defence through the middle, but the Eels will play the ball 10 metres out directly in front of the uprights. Right again as Massima plays the line dummies and then links up with Clayton Falolo on the sweep, but he is pulled down by the Roosters defence on Parramatta's right edge. At dummy half is Jabril Kalachi, and he finds Massima, who uses Tarsi James. Cut out pass from the big man, but it's found no one. And the Roosters have scooped it up, and they're going to go against the run of play here, potentially length of the field. Komalafi gunning down from behind. Can he get him? Huge effort from the opposite side winger to save a try that would have closed the game up for the Roosters, but now he has to be careful to not give away the penalty, and he has. And he's going to he will spend the last 6 minutes of the game in the sin bin. It's hard to fault Komalafi there because there was very little options. He made the great try-saving tackle, but stayed on for just too long, and will spend the rest of the game in the showers or on the bench, rather.
Mate, it was borderline being penalised because I believe if you make a chase and the sort of tackle that he made, that was a dominant tackle. It was a dominant tackle.
Referee's discretion there led to a...
He cut him down one-on-one. Now, can you get more dominant than a one-on-one tackle? Okay, there was a little bit of a hold down, but it wasn't over the top. So, hard done by...
Referee's discretion there.
And as Forty said, he was in a no-win situation. He couldn't jump up. He couldn't let go of him. Now we've got the Roosters attacking a 12-man Eels defence.
13 on 12, 5.5 to go.
Just over 5 minutes left in this game.
Any sort of goal line stand here would be incredible from the blue and gold. As the Roosters work it to the uprights, it looks like Tarsi James and Jonte Jr. combining to bring the ball carrier down. Coleman, a dummy half, playing the ball to the right, looking to find his halfback, or 5'8", playing it outside in for the Roosters. The Eels mark up well and do bring the ball carrier down before he offloads, and they play it with second phase play out to their right, and that will be the game, ladies and gentlemen. Has he? No. So from being the game to giving the Eels a chance, the Roosters were celebrating, but the referee has found a knock-on in the attempt to ground the ball over the line, and Parramatta are going to get a 10-metre restart.
Or is he calling held up?
No, he's calling... Okay, he's calling held up. So we've gone through all the full gamut of emotions here in 10 seconds. Roosters with at least 2 more tackles left in this set, playing it from right side of the field, playing to the right short side. But this will be the game here, it looks like. Yeah. So Eels caught short down their left edge. They tried to make the jam and couldn't bring the ball carrier down, allowing their fullback Corey Fenning to link up with that right winger who's had an absolute cracker of a game, Vladi Karalevu, who will score, I believe, a hat-trick there.
I think it is, mate.
Yeah, so that will most likely put the game on ice. It's 26-20 with 4 minutes to go with a kick to come. This kicker has taken his time he's entitled to take his time. That's not an accusation. He's has a very methodical approach to the tee.
It's the dance floor approach.
Which means the Eels will have, at best, I'd say, 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's called, let me describe the motion. You put your left foot back, you put your left foot back. You put your left foot back, then you put your left foot back. You put your left foot back, then 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 you raise the right leg. Raise the right leg, and in you come. So let's see if he goes for that same method here. He's back again, nearly 30 metres out. He has got an almighty boot on him.
Yeah, so Corey Fenning, the fill-in fullback, named on the wing for the Tricolours, but sliding back to the custodial role in that huge pre-game reshuffle for both teams. The conversion here will put the game beyond doubt. He steps in, strikes it nicely, strikes it very nicely, and he has put it through the uprights and secured the 8-point lead for the Tricolours with 3 minutes left in this contest.
Mate, you'd have, again, that came back to a little bit of the ineptitude of the Eels attack. When I say ineptitude, they've really lost their way here in attack. They've gone edge to edge without earning it. In the first half, they played strong fundamental football, drove it through the ruck and benefited and prospered on that, and they've just completely gone away from that. Yeah, absolutely. There was, it's probably like some of the games that would be criticised with the NRL team in the past, where they've gone and shifted to the edges far too early. That's probably what we've seen today in the second half from this Eels Jersey Fleggg side. As the Roosters continue to work it through the middle, a little right edge shift here now as they find their right edge back rower Riley Main. He carries a number of defenders for about a 15-metre gain and is eventually brought down about 3 or 4 metres short of halfway. Left now as they centre the ball, looking to tidy up their set and complete it. On the last ball we play just inside Parramatta's half, they'll go to their right edge and drive it downfield. Yeah, end over end bomb, and it will be left to go over the sideline on the full. And with 1 minute and 50 seconds left, there is argy-bargy going on the centre field. So ball is kicked out in the full, and there is now a whole ton of shirt grabbing and the typical fracas that we're so used to seeing in the modern game. That whistle will stop it, mate. The whistle will stop it. The whistle will tell them. So the referee has blown his whistle to call time off and try and separate the teams. There is no punches thrown. Mate, just while this rubbish is getting sorted out, again, I just want to come back to that attack because, as we said in the first half, the Eels were laying a platform through the middle and the attack was coming from that. They were doing damage to the Roosters' defensive line, whereas they've just been an easy mark in the second half, just shifting the ball without earning it. As Peter Tatio gets us back underway, stepping back into the ruck before he's tackled.
Kyle Schneider at first receiver, throws the dummy to Tarsi James, but then finds Tavita Massima, who was well tackled. Eels need to score rapidly here and probably decline the conversion as Clayton Falolo is tackled down the right edge short side. Jaden Yates, a dummy half, will link up with Tarsi James, who plays out the back to Kyle Schneider, continuing the shift to Tavita Massima down the left edge, who steps off his left foot and is tackled in the defensive line, sorry, not the goal line. Couple of tackles left in the set. The Parramatta Eels, they chase the 8-point gap out to Jonte Junior Befamiza, who finds Clayton Falolo, who then links up with number 14, which is Caleb Towie, back to Falolo. The ball is touched by Rooster, no, play on, as Tarsi James goes into the defensive line and carries Roosters into the 10-metre point of the Roosters goal line. Last now, as we find Jaden Yates, who goes to Kyle Schneider, who will stab a crossfield kick, looking to find his winger, but there's nowhere near. And the ball doesn't bounce over touch, but it's picked up by Sam Loiser, who is then driven into touch for the turnover. And with single digits on the clock, that will do us, and the Parramatta Eels will go down 28-20 in this round 9 fixture against the Tricolours. An unfortunate loss for the Parramatta Eels, mate.
Mate, I think we've pretty much summed it up in our comments during this second half. First half promised so much because the Eels were so strong through the middle, and it was obvious during that first half that the Roosters were going to trouble us out wide. Yeah, instead of that being the pattern of play in the second half, the Eels were attempting to shift it wide.
Yeah.
And in doing so, they seemed to lose structure and composure during that second half. And it affected both their attack and defence.
I think they just I really struggle to think of a play that had a very positive impact in the second half, because the Eels just lacked direction, too sideways. And defensively they were found to be very brittle down that left edge.
Mate, if you were asking me who the Eels' best on field was, I would be referring back to the first half. Because like you, it was hard to find anything terribly positive to comment on in the second half, and I think that's really been reflected in the scoreboard. So, but we've spoken before and said that this is fairly typical of what to expect in Jersey Fleggg football. Sometimes we're probably overly critical because we're looking to the standards that we might see in higher grades, and we're trying to apply it to a grade of football which is an age grade. So
Correct.
The Jersey Fleggg is an under-21s, but you've got players down here that are 18 years of age. You've got players who are on their own journey of development. So as we spoke before, you are going to see some errors in this level of football. And much the same way, you're probably just not going to have the level of composure that you want to see. Today it was the Roosters that came out on top. I suppose they managed to hold their composure when they needed it. You could see that they were starting to make inroads with a little bit of second phase play, but they didn't overplay their hand with the second phase play. It was just enough
the
to
two
make
teams
inroads.
traded places between the halves, didn't they?
They very much did so. So, as I said, it was, look, when all was said and done, it was an interesting game of football, entertaining, but from an Eels perspective, a little bit on the disappointing side, especially in that second half.
Yeah, and after the NRL 31-18 victory and then the 39-0 shutout against North Sydney Bears in the New South Wales Cup, the Eels unfortunately cannot complete the trifecta, and they don't get to sweep the Sydney Roosters across all three grades, with the Toyota Cup, the Jersey Fleggg falling victims to the Roosters in this grade, 28-20. Anything you want to say before we sign off, mate?
No, I'm just wondering how many of these Roosters supporters are from the Hills District.
Well, it looks like there's a fair turnout, isn't there, from some of the locals. We know that the Roosters and whatnot do recruit strongly from the Western Sydney now, especially Manly too. But that's the nature of the game, as we've spoken about on other occasions, and you can't hold too much resentment, even though we do like to complain.
No. And for a club that cops a little bit of a razzing for not having a following, they've had a fair turnout of supporters here today.
Yeah,
they might be mostly family and friends, but I'll tell you what, they certainly got behind them. They were quite vocal today, and probably were a little bit more vocal than the Eels supporters.
Yeah, surprisingly, but that was the case. But yeah, so next week we just quickly pull up the draw and see where we're going to be positioned.
Oh, look, we do wish the Roosters player well that had the knee injury.
Correct,
We're
yes.
just seeing him walking off at the moment. So he's got ice on the knee. but he is managing with a bit of assistance to walk back to their sheds.
Now, just on next week, it was originally scheduled to be the bye, which went in conjunction with the Magic round up in the NRL, but we did have a season earlier round in the season washed out, which I believe will be the rescheduled round in round 10. So we need to stay tuned for details on that. But that was that the game against the Cronulla Sharks in this grade? No, it was not. It was round 2 was the game against the Dragons. So the Parramatta Eels will be taking on the Dragons in this grade, and in the New South Wales Cup, if I just go back to round 2 as well, they will be taking on the Canberra Raiders. So a couple of varying games there, but for the Eels and the Flegg, the Dragons are positioned ahead of them on the ladder at 4th place, so that's going to be a fair contest for them, and they're going to need to be getting up for that one, obviously. And in the Jersey Fleggg, we know that the Raiders are a reasonable outfit on paper because we met them again, didn't we? I feel like we've played the Raiders again.
Mate, the way the draws are going, sometimes it's easy to lose track of who we've played once or twice. I would have sworn we
played the Raiders. They played the pre-game curtain raiser when we went to Canberra, but we also were scheduled to play them around 2. But we know the quirks of the NRL draw C means that you can play the same team within a month period twice, so maybe that's the case here in the New South Wales Cup. So stay tuned for details on that. If possible, we will hopefully be able to livecast either of those games, but that is pending where they're scheduled and if there is coverage otherwise on one of the main networks or the New South Wales Rugby League itself. But if there isn't, hopefully we can get out there and give you a call of the game. But until then, we've got a reaction podcast to the win on Friday night coming up tomorrow, and all of our natural or normal post-game content and midweek content from there. So thanks for stopping by for the livecast. Be sure to go to thecumberlandthrow.com.
And just before we go again, another thanks to Scott and Adam from Wendy Leagues,
helping get the stream up for us.
Who came to the rescue
in the clutch
when we needed access to a slightly stronger Wi-Fi stream than was available. So thanks again to them. Thanks to everyone who's stuck around when we weren't quite on air, when we'd planned to be on air. And if you've stuck through till the end, much appreciated. Yeah, as always, we'll catch you guys on the other side. Thanks for stopping by. And if you've got a second, you can leave us a like on YouTube and a comment on the website. But that's, just it's not an obligation. It's just a gentle, we like the feedback, nudging. We like the feedback. We like having a chat. So constructive criticism as well, we'll take some of that. Yeah, and bearing in mind, we know that we're very raw at this thing, and given the last 2 games that we've called, our first 2 games, the amount of changes pre-game have been wild. So you go in prepping for one team and you sort of get an entirely different team list. So our apologies for tripping over names and calling positions rather than players, but we will endeavour to be better at it in the future. And a shout out to the Eels staff as well. So Dino, who kept us up to date with the change in starting time that happened with today, so he made sure we had that, and also Dean was there with helping with giving some contacts today just to make sure that we had the access to the stream and have our location all sorted out here. Glenn, the team Eels Jersey Fleggg team manager as well, who's